Hey guys, how's it going? This is Nick, aka Rockley Smile here, and as you may know, today IGN released a 12-minute video of some actual live gameplay of Dark Souls 2, and I figured you guys might be a little bit interested in going through that video live with me as I, make my first impressions of it, I suppose, because I do want to try and point out any kind of differences that I might notice as we go through this. It should be kind of interesting. I've been looking forward to seeing a little bit of specifics on this game for quite a while, so I'm going to start this thing up, and I'm going to talk through the whole thing. So I don't know if you want to run the video alongside of me. I guess that's one option for you, but that is up to you. So here we are. We've got Marty Sliva, who is introducing Yui Tanimura and Tak Miyazoe. And they are going to discuss, well, I don't think they're going to discuss for very long. I think they're actually just going to launch right into the demo. Alright, so here we are. We're actually in the game world. The engine, to me, looks very similar to what it looked like in the original Dark Souls. The textures remind me a lot of the DLC content, the level of contrast that's going on. I found that the aesthetic was a little bit different. I am noticing he's not using an Estus flask for whatever reason. He's got some sort of a rock down there with 20 charges. Okay, he's opening up a door with like pretty much the same door opening animation that he had in the original. So yeah, I see now I'm looking at his hotbar here, where it corresponds with the D-pad. He doesn't have an Estus flask. He seems to be using a Dropstone of Healing. And looks like 2 alt weapons? I don't know what the top up stands for, but underneath the shield there's also 2 little sub slots, which are for something, and the bottom arrow seems to have a secondary shiftable option, which is also containing a Dropstone of Healing. So he's engaging his first enemy, some sort of a knight with a halberd it looks like. Combat looks pretty similar. He's got a lock-on going. The lock-on is now a bright blue instead of that gray circle. Took a couple hits there. It looked like a little bit more blood than there was in the first game. Kind of strange, actually, now that you think about it. There wasn't a ton of blood in the original game. I'm also noticing where his humanity gauge should be. There's some sort of a crazy, like, lunar cycle scale going on. I don't know what that means at all. Maybe they're doing a, white tendency, dark or black tendency thing again, like they did with Demon Souls. I do really like the UI, though. What they did with the health and magic bars is much streamlined. I really like that the stamina gauge is actually like half the height of the health bar. I'm missing most of what they're saying, but it's kind of cool because I just sort of wanted to make my own impressions talking over it anyway. Standard looking stuff. He's killing a bunch of knights. The soldier was dead, but he came alive and attacked you. Well, that's not really exactly new styles of gameplay here. This is pretty similar stuff. So this guy can light a torch at this point, which I suppose is what his up arrow is. So we've actually got some dark to deal with, much like we had in Tomb of the Giants or something, only instead of using a sunlight maggot, I guess you can actually light a torch. And I'm noticing some lovely dynamic shadows playing off of all the walls and the boxes and such, as well as this enemy. I mean, I'm pretty sure everything had some shadows before, but there weren't a lot of, if any, dynamic light sources. Oh, that's actually quite beautiful watching him swing around like that. So he's fighting this big, like, armadillo-looking guy holding a mace right now. And he just drained his stamina out in one shot. Okay, well, we got 2 of those guys now. They look pretty tough. They kind of look like the ogres that you would fight as you get into Blighttown a little bit, only, armored up. He's in a pretty bad spot right now, and he just got crushed to death. Alright, you died. They kept that. He tried to replace the torch with a shield, and the torch went out. Well, that was some poor play then. Alright, we're going to take a different route now. kind of like that sweet little fur shoulders thing he's got going on. Kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones a little bit. Alright, we're going to do something different. What are we going to do? This environment actually is reminding me a little bit of Demon's Souls as well. The enemies have different types of thought processes. I wonder what that actually means. Yeah, that environment really reminds me of Demon's Souls, and I'm not sure where it was in the game. Maybe it was towards the beginning, actually. And then that hazy yellow mist in the background is just totally giving me vibes from the DLC campaign area. Oh, that's sweet. He's climbing up a giant sword to go fight a troll. Alright, the size and scale of this environment looks pretty freaking cool, but I'm betting most of this is inaccessible. It looks like a huge open vista, and he just got killed by a dwarf. Okay, apparently he can deflect away weapons now. Like a thrown weapon. Oh wow, we're in some kind of like crazy open museum that looks a little bit like Duke's Archives with a giant T-Rex skeleton or something thrown through it. It's probably not a T-Rex, to be honest with you. Just kind of taking in all this crazy lighting stuff. The lighting looks really nice in this. The Mansion of the Dragons. That's a pretty badass name. Oh man, is the skeleton gonna come alive? Yeah, it is. Alright, that's pretty freaking awesome. The sense of scale, I mean, as generally always with this series, is really top-notch. Although, I don't know what he just did. He just, like, ejected himself from the wall and now is dead. There's a kind of a sad attack there. Sort of reminds me a little bit of the Crocomire at the end after you melt all his skin off. We're not faced up against any enemies immediately in this venue. That's kind of a different take on exploration. So that's nice. They're actually setting up some pacing a little bit for once. I mean, not that they didn't do that at all, but like in general, Dark Souls was like pretty much most of the places you went, you're going to expect to get hit by something pretty frequently. Got a pretty sweet looking shield there with a nice crest on it. Oh, that face is horrifying looking. It's like a block there. Oh, use magic stone. What is it? You're going to put a rock in his mouth. The key mouth. So if we put a stone in that mouth, it's going to trigger certain effects depending on where we are, I guess. Cool. Okay, so you can only use that stone in certain places, so you need to know where it is that you want to put it. I'm sort of reiterating exactly what they're just saying, unfortunately, but processing this as we go. There's a horrible Cyclops in there. They're in enemy jail, apparently. Just taking a first-person view. You're gonna shoot him in the eye with an arrow. It looks like there's this grating in front of the edge of the door there, and it's probably not going to deflect your arrows. Oh crap, I think that pissed him off, and now he's going to break through the wall Vamos style. What even is that? It's like a hippopotamus Cyclops. Enemies will actually break through walls. Well, I mean, don't make it sound like you're going to have enemies dynamically breaking through walls. This is all scripted, obviously. What is that sword? That sword looks badass. Like a giant freaking Buster sword or something from Final Fantasy VII. He's holding it over his shoulder like a BA. And he just took out the hippopotamus Cyclops. So we're 9 minutes 30 seconds into this. And now we're going to see something else. I kind of want to see more of what you were just doing there. Come on, buddy, don't leave us hanging. How the player will die. He will die probably pretty frequently. That is freaking awesome looking. It looks like Painted World, but dragons everywhere. There's like gotta be, I don't know, 50 dragons in various depths. That's awesome looking, man. So the only thing for me that's gonna mess up Dark Souls 2 is if they choose to make this a super linear world. At least for me. I know this is probably sort of a contentious thing to say because some people really preferred the way Dark Souls worked, or Demon Souls worked, with the hub world area. I thought they approached it much better with Firelink. I think that made more sense for me anyway. So he was walking across the bridge, a dragon landed on it, tore the bridge in half, and the dude just falls to his death. I don't know what you're going to do to prevent that from happening. I guess you got to kill the dragon first. Alright, now we're in a dark hallway, and there is a glowing charioteer that looks like straight out of Devil May Cry. Like, straight out. The silver chariot, and we've still got gestures, it looks like. Oh man, he just held up his arm and like 3 boars or something just knocked him off a cliff. It looks like there's actually a falling animation now instead of just like whatever it is that they did in Dark Souls where he would just like fall straight down and then eventually scream or whatever. There's a variety of deaths waiting to be experienced. That's well put, sir. So it looks like they're approaching it with a much more granular element. The way that you can interact with the environment seems a little bit more dynamic. Because, I mean, if you remember playing through Dark Souls, it's like, it's not like Assassin's Creed and you walk up to a wall and he like puts his hand on the wall and there's like a sense of space. In Dark Souls, you're just kind of this self-contained little module of weapons. And it looks like they're wrapping up at this point. And we're just replaying some of the trailer shots from the early pre-rendered announce video. And cutting back to that pretty badass looking Dark Souls 2 logo. So I guess that is it. What can we take away from that? Well, I do feel a little bit more comfortable being excited about Dark Souls 2. I've been very reticent about my approach on this game because I am aware that if they take this in the wrong direction, it could end up being, I don't know, kind of disappointing. I don't want to say that it's going to be bad because if it's Dark Souls, they probably have a fairly decent idea what they're doing. The development team's been pretty solid. But it is a different mix-up with the people involved, so it's not going to really, guarantee success. And especially, I don't know if that whole thing about aspirations to be more like Elder Scrolls was even true. I heard some people saying that that was just taken out of context or misquoted or something like that. So if that's the case, then don't even worry about that. But I sort of had that in the back of my mind, that if these guys see the potential for their series to become super mainstream, and not like I'm trying to say like, oh, I'm like the super hipster that I want Dark Souls to always be like underground or something. I mean, no, I want it to be successful too, but I want it to be done and be successful because of the things that made the series successful. And as long as I think the developers are on par with that, on the same page with that, I think we're all going to be great. I don't want to see freaking crazy like vehicle action necessarily. I don't know, maybe they could pull that off if they did it just right, but I don't want it to be a major part of the game. Honestly, if you ask me what's the best thing you could do for Dark Souls 2, just make it exactly like Dark Souls 1, expand upon it, leave more options, fix the multiplayer, fix the frame rate issues in the engine. That is one thing I want to mention, actually. Nowhere in that did I see even a single frame rate dip, especially impressive considering all the dynamic lighting going on. That wasn't necessarily present in Dark Souls 1. I mean, there was a lot of really detailed stuff. I mean, dealing with the torches, dealing with that chariot, everything was casting light rays and shadows everywhere, and I did not see a single dip. So I am impressed by that, and kind of reassured feeling, and I'm pretty happy that we got to have this little look at it. I mean, granted, it's only 12 minutes long. You're not going to get that much actual information. They didn't explain what was up with the lack of Estus, what was up with the strange humanity meter. Unless they did and I talked over them, and if they did, my apologies, but maybe I'll have to go back and watch this when I'm not speaking the entire time and see what else I can take from it. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap that up. I think this was a fun little thing to do. Just kind of like speculating and talking about these things that I'm very excited about. I know I love Dark Souls. It's one of my favorite games ever. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys watching also love it with the same fervor that I do. So anything I can do to contribute to a conversation on this game and series in general is something that I'm into, and I absolutely can't wait to get my hands on the freaking thing. I mean, I don't even know when. Have they said when it's coming out? I don't think they've said that yet. Probably not this year, right? Maybe fall at the latest, obviously. I mean, what else are they going to do? Summer? Yeah, well, we'll see. So that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you let me know your opinions on any of the topics that we've discussed during this little semi-impressions video of another person's impressions of a thing that isn't finished. And we will keep the conversation going for months to come. So have a lovely day, and I will see you later.